I have said the boy is really good, and if the other person is still not convinced the boy is good, then I'll have to produce more emphasis in my speech the way I'm putting that to that person. So what I can do is I can bring lam zabar la. Lam zabar la has the same amount of emphasis. It works like inna, but inna and lam of tawqeed, we call it lam of emphasis, lam tawqeed. One thing, they do not come together. We cannot say inna lal walada. That's not going to work. So they do not come together. And because they do not come together, and we want to bring more emphasis in our speech, then we put lam zabr la, lam tawqeed, on khabar. So in this case, we will say innal walada la hasanun. The boy is really, really, really good, whichever way you want to convey that in English. Saying in English, the boy is really, really, really good is not really the right way of speaking in English, but the point is that there is a lot of emphasis in here because of these two particles of emphasis, inna and lam zabar la. You have noticed that lam zabar la hasn't changed the i'rab of the noun. So that's exactly what it is. It doesn't change the i'rab of the noun to which it is prefixed, whether it is at the beginning or it is later on in the sentence. For example, if we look at this example, we say Hamidun Hasanun. Hamid is good. Now we want to produce emphasis in it. We can actually bring lam here rather than inna. We can bring lam here and we say La Hamidun Hasanun. Of course, indeed Hamid is good. Hamid is really good. But then you have noticed that even on this first noun, which was initially mubtada, it still is mubtada. Lam of tawqeed, lam tawqeed hasn't changed the status of the noun. It is still in rafa, and khabar is going to be in rafa anyway. So even if it comes at the beginning of the sentence, it will give the same degree of emphasis. So la hamidun hasanun, Hamid is really good. And then we can produce further emphasis. We can say inna hamidan hasanun. Actually, it's in place of la, we can say inna hamidan hasanun. So it's the same degree of emphasis. And then we put these together to produce further emphasis. We'll say inna hamidan la hasanun. So inna and lam will not come together in the sentence. And you have seen here that with inna, Hamidun has become Hamidan. So its i'rab has changed. Let us look at an example from Quran. This is Surah Adiyat, which is Surah number 100 in Quran, and this is ayah number 6 of Surah Adiyat. Innal insana li rabbihi lakanut. The man, or the human, the man, that's what it means. Of course, the man, indeed the man, is ungrateful to his Lord. That's what it means, this sentence, this full ayah. If we dissect this, I use the word dissect. If we dissect this ayah, the starting point here without inna will be al insanu kunudun. The man is ungrateful. But actually there is emphasis in here already in this pattern. We have learned about patterns in Arabic, and this is the pattern of fa'udun. For example, we say ghafurun. Allah is ghafur. Not forgiving, but very forgiving. So there is already emphasis in this. Saburun, not patient, but very patient. So in this qanud, there is already element of emphasis, and the correct translation, if we do the translation, is going to be the man is very ungrateful. And Lirabbihi, I have brought Lirabbihi here at the end. In Quran it is not. This is clearly not Quran. That is the normal word order and arrangement in Jumla Ismiya. In Jumla Ismiya, the default structure, the default arrangement in Jumla Ismiya is that we have a Mubtada at the beginning, then we have Khabar, and if anything comes afterwards, and in this case we call this Jar Majroor, which is Muta'allaq Khabar. So Muta'allaq Khabar tends to be in the default form after the Khabar towards the end of the sentence. In this case, it is not just simple Murakkab Jari. We can say here Rab, which is Lord, and He, which is the Mir, which means his Rab, Rabbi, my Rab, Rabbuka, your Rab, Rabbuhi, his Rab. Here it is Rabba. So Rab here is Mudaf, and the Mir who is Mudaf ilayh, and that makes Murakkab Adafi. And that Murakkab Adafi is Majroor. The whole of this Murakkab, whole of this phrase is Majroor for this harif Jar, which is Lamzirli. Remember, it's not Lamzirlah here, Lamzirli. So, Al Insanu Kanudun Li Rabbihim. The man is very ungrateful to his Lord. And that's our analysis. Mubtada, Khabar, and Muta'allaq Khabar combine to make Jumla Ismiya Khabariya. And that is the default structure or default nature of word arrangement in Jumla Ismiya. So in the ayah, because the aim was to produce emphasis, so inna has come at the beginning. Innal insana. So insanu has gone to nasab. Innal insana. Of course, the man. And then kunudun, we have got a lam of tawqeed here for further emphasis. So, of course, indeed, the man is very ungrateful. Actually, there is very, very here. And that's how it really becomes difficult to translate these ayah into any other language, because you find difficult to bring that emphasis in translation. That's one thing. And second, in word order and arrangement, sometimes some words are brought earlier than their usual place, and that happens for two reasons. One, maybe it's the rhyming of the words in high quality prose, and there will be this word order and arrangement will be such that they're put together in a way to go with the other sentences or ayah in the surah, that they rhyme with one another, and that becomes appealing and that becomes attractive to the audience as a high quality language. And the second is because Rabb, which is we translate as Lord, Rabb is somebody who looks after you, who fulfills all your needs. So the man is not just ungrateful to anybody, for example, is ungrateful to the very entity who has looked after him, who has provided him with shelter, with food, with everything else, and security. So that's way to make the point, to give this importance and bring further emphasis in the ayah. This was brought before khabar here. So innal insana li rabbihi. The man is ungrateful, not to anybody else, actually, not anybody, but to his Lord. The Lord who has fulfilled all his needs becomes ungrateful to him. So you can see there's a lot of emphasis in here, and that's where the Quranic Arabic, the classical Arabic really becomes very, very interesting.